It's forbidden fruit, but I like it. A toy they mock, but I ignite it. They tell me, Joe, don't you dare, but I raise it high in the neon air. Yeah.
It's better to tell the truth.
And that's no lie. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Greetings, fellow nerds. It is I, Joe Ara, here with a brand new series that I am calling Forbidden Fruit, wherein I take a look at a line or figure that most collectors frown upon, and I happen to like. And I'll be able to give you reasons that I like it. I will tell you if I agree with some of the criticisms of other reviewers, and we'll see if maybe we can turn some people on to some different toys to collect. The first episode is going to be about a character that I have the most of in various lines, and that's this fellow right here, Flint. Um, I have my Lord scale Flint from the olden days, and he's got his little crack in his arm there, but he's mine. And this guy led all of my Joe adventures, as it should be. Then Classified came out, and I started collecting Classified. And the first iteration of Flint was good. It was fine. He had a scar now. Um, he was a little bit more muted, and he probably could have used a couple more things to make him more like the one that I remember. So they came out with the retro classified card back, or classified retro card back, I guess is how all the kids say it these days. Um, and that would be this fellow right here, right? So he definitely carries a lot of the same features as the Lord scale here, right? Down to the backpack of unusual size that throws his entire balance off. He's got his sidearm here, just like in the olden days, except this one wasn't removable. And all in all, probably the best iteration of Flint of my short collecting career here. So classified Flint will be leading any dios that I create moving forward. Now, for the forbidden fruit, the Flint warrant officer from Super 7 Ultimates. Aww. So here we go. I'm going to forgo the unboxing for you, and we'll be right back with all the stuff. All right, that was hairy. Not going to lie. Anything these days with plastic pieces, especially little ones, it always freaks me out getting them out of the plastic prison. But here we are. All right. So I will say that the common criticism is the lack of paint on the skin, and it gives a waxy, shiny appearance. So that is something that I 100% agree with. But it's just cool. It's a cool little figure. You do have some neck articulation with this particular head. That's as far back as you're going to get it. You can get to the side, other side. That's about as far as you're going to get that. Backpack, and it is a backpack that actually goes over the arms, which is cool. Now, what I've seen reviewers do when putting on the backpack is really stressing the points where it connects right here to the backpack because it's just basically glued on there. If you flip the arms up, so like if you up and back a little bit, then you can just it falls like right onto the shoulders, so you don't have to stress those points there. Um, he definitely is bright. He definitely matches the Sunbow cartoon, not just the face, right down to the dimple in his chin, but it looks like Flint. It looks like the Flint that I remember because I was more of a Sunbow kid than I was a comic kid. And the one thing you have to remember with the Super 7 line is they're going after the Sunbow audience, right? So they're not trying to make it look like the Lord scale 3 3/4 Flint. They're not trying to match your toy. What they're trying to do is match the cartoon. And this does that. I mean, definitely reminds me of the cartoon. Now, the comically huge holster here, it definitely is, it looks a little out of place, but it's because he's got a laser pistol from the series. I don't ever remember him having that, but okay, just tuck that back in there. But I mean, it is comically large. But when you sit him on the shelf, your eye isn't necessarily drawn to it. Like it just looks like a sidearm. But I would say that the articulation, it's not a double jointed knee, but you do get a 90. There's a boot swivel, and then you've got an ankle rocker, and a boot swivel there. Um, yeah, the skin definitely looks waxy. The more I look at it, the less of an issue it is. Um, when we get to the Lady J review, my thoughts are going to be wholly different. But um, yeah, so that is out of the box, the character out of the box, and it definitely is my Sunbow Flint. Now, let's get into some of the stuff. Now, I also will say that he's a lot more balanced than the classified figure because I just sat him down and he stands right up in position. The other one, the classified guy, I have to find the exact right spot. He does come with two alternate heads. So let's see if we can, yeah. So this is alternate head one, and that's him with his headset from flying the Skyhawk there, or just about anything. And then it comes with another alternate head. And I think I might like this one slightly more than the one that came out of the package. Plus, you get that. So the beret comes off. Um, let's see. So that's it for the heads. You of course get your Sunbow laser rifle. You get a newspaper, Cobra Commander. You get a pair of binoculars. You get a little walkie-talkie and a flashlight. Um, and then you also get two for six additional hands. You get your pointer hand there. You get fists. You get grippy C hands. Um, all the hands have a hinge. So now, when you're planning on using the hinge, you have to pull it out one stop. So if you push the hands in all the way, you're not going to be able to take use of that hinge. I don't know that I would ever want to trust when you pull it out not to snap that hand right off. So I don't know that I'll ever use the hinge, but it is there if you so choose. So, what would I say about this Flint? Um, I would say that if I wanted a Flint to put on my desk at work or when I put shelves up behind me, um, this would probably be that Flint. Um, because it's the one that I saw the most of growing up, and it's the one that I remember. And he looks good. Um, Even if I have to do a little bit of matte clear coat on the skin to dull it up a little bit, um, I'm not particularly looking for a ton of articulation. Um, it's just something to look at. I can pick it up and play around with it a little bit, but you will not get the same posability or playability that you will with the classified ones. But as far as I'm concerned, and as someone who collects all kinds of different G.I. Joe crap, um, I'm not calling this crap. What I'm saying is someone who collects a ton of crap. Um, this represents one of the many different facets of my childhood, right? So the Sunbow cartoon was every day after school, and this was my guy. So I could foresee having more of these. What I will say is the original manufacturer price for these is crazy, out, out, way out there. If you're not offering the same articulation and the same amount of good accessories, you can't, y- at a minimum, you have to, if you're going to go for $55, $60 for a figure, you cannot have less articulation and less accessories. Um, and you also have to make sure you're putting out tons of stuff. No one wants the collected line that's going to be dead after three waves. Um, Now there are sales, like Big Box Toy Store has the entire wave that Flint is in for like $50. It's like four figures for 50, $55. Um, the second wave is $65. Um, and the third wave is on sale too. So like the first three waves are all on sale. So you can get like 12 figures for $160 or something like that. Um, that to me is worth it, as you'll see in future reviews. Um, and it is not my intent that this entire Forbidden Fruit series be Super 7 Ultimates, but it's the first line I'm collecting and that other people kind of frown upon, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So the more I open, the more stuff I find to like about it. And like I said, this line for me would be something to display. Um, I might even create one dio that is an American flag and put the Joe characters in front of the American flag and then do a Cobra flag, put all the Cobras in front of that. Um, just for display shelf, where I'm not having to create, crazy articulated poses and big action scenes. It would be a neat thing to have a Sunbow shelf. And I think for the $12 or whatever it worked out to be for Flint, I think that you'd be crazy not to snatch up an entire wave. Figure out which wave is the one that you love, or has the characters you want, and snatch that entire wave up for $60, 55, $60. Um, so that is my impression of Flint. Now, I almost have to judge this in a different way because it's more of, like I said, a display character, a hanger queen, if you will, something that's not going to be played with, but just displayed. Um, because of the fact that this particular one is missing some paint apps, it looks a little waxy, and it's for display purposes in my mind. That's why I bought it. Um, I'm going to say it's probably a 7 because it does come with accessories. It does come with alternate heads. It does come with hands. So I can create a display that I want. Um, but yeah, I think a solid 7, maybe 7.5, for Flint. And it would get more if the paint apps were correct and if it matched the digital renders a little more closely. And I'll put those at the end so you can see what I'm talking about. But I was just checking the sitting pose, and it reminds me a lot of the initial A Real American Hero line in what actually is articulated. Um, So there is a huge nostalgia factor here. I wish I could give him more than a 7 or a 7.5, but I don't feel like that's right to do. Great character, looks great. I don't see any real defects. There's nothing loose on him, but nothing is sticking when I go to articulate it. Like, because of limited runs nowadays, you want to make sure you're not breaking your characters, but I don't feel like it is gonna break. Um, and like I said, it's the perfect amount of um, I don't even know what you would call that. It's grippy enough um, to hold your pose, but it's also um, it's grippy but not sticky. Does that make sense? I don't care if it makes sense. That's what I'm saying. Um, so yeah, that's Flint. Episode 1 of Forbidden Fruit is in the books, 7.5, and we've got a couple more to go. So I'm going to see how many of these things I can bang out. Stay tuned. We're going to be looking at even more Super Sevens on Forbidden Fruit. Thanks for watching.
It's forbidden fruit.